can preach at the Salvation Army or preach over there in the beach service like nothing, but when I get up here in front of you guys, my church family, I just get a little nervous. But I'm coming from the book of Jonah. Text verse was Jonah 1:10. Might sound familiar, I'm going to read it. Well, because I got it from one of his messages. But it says, Then were the men exceedingly afraid, and said unto him, Why hast thou done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Man, there's some great messages in the book of Jonah. But the message I have here this morning, tonight, is entitled, Stop Running from God. Because that's exactly what Jonah was doing. How many know the story of Jonah? Probably everybody, right? Well, real quick to summarize it, Jonah, the Lord called Jonah to go preach at the city Nineveh, and he was supposed to tell him, you got 40 days. 40 days to clean up your act, or I'm going to rain judgment down on this city. And so Jonah didn't want to, and he wanted to go. He didn't want to go where God wanted to send him. So Jonah, he runs from God, and God pulls him back he gets swallowed up by this fish, and fish pukes him out on the shore, or whatever. And anyway, ultimately, Jonah ends up doing what God originally had him do in the first place. And, that sounds so much like us, right? We run from God. We stay out of church. We think if we can get far enough away from God that He's not going to see us, or He'll forget about us, And that's just not the case. But the Bible says that, it doesn't give the reason for why Jonah ran. But as a matter of fact, it just says he caught the next ship out of town. And it makes you wonder why. All the Bible says is he ran from the presence of the Lord. And, it makes you wonder why. Was he scared? Did he think he was underqualified for the job? Was he just not ready? What was his reason for running from God? But a better question would be, what's your reason for running from God? Is there something that God has called you to do that you're running from? Amen. Who here's ever ran from God? Amen. I know I have on more than one occasion. And, I was raised in church as a youngster. And, we were there every time the doors were open. And, when my grandma died, I seen the perfect opportunity to run from God. And that's what I did. And teenagers, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you from somebody who's been there and from experience, don't do it. Don't run from God. What you have here at this church, cherish it. Because if I would have had something like this, I might not have ran from God and all those years. And you guys, there's nothing out there that's worth losing this over. There's nothing out there that's worth losing what God has called you to do. Because we're all, as Christians, we're all called of God. There's a verse in Romans that says, everything works out for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Well, if you're a Christian and you're here tonight, you're called according to His purpose. Okay? And so, guys, don't run from it. But I'm going to continue on. If you have ran from God, or if you are running from God, you're going to find out that you're not going to get very far. Because you can't run from God. If you don't have to turn there, but I'm going to read from Isaiah 55:11. Some of you may be familiar with it. It says, So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereunto I sent it. So, if God has a calling on your life, or if He has a purpose for you to fulfill, okay, there ain't no use in running. Because He said His word, it will be fulfilled in you, and His word will not return void. And so you're not going to get very far if you try running from God. But as I was studying this message, it's funny because the Clark's commentary, if any of you guys are familiar with it, it says that God's presence was prominent in Judea. God's presence is prominent everywhere, but it was funny that commentary said it was prominent in Judea. But Jonah thought that if he could get away from Judea, he could get away from God. And or God would just forget about him and choose somebody else. And I think that's the way we think a lot. If we could just stay out of church, if we could just go our own way, God will forget about little old us. But not true. Not if He has a calling on your life. Not if He's looking for you. If He has something that you need to fulfill, you're going to do what He wants you to do, no matter what. But I just thought it was funny how that commentary said His presence was prominent in Judea because God's omnipresent. Not just in Judea, but in San Antonio, Texas, and in Canada, and everywhere. But God's presence is everywhere, not just in Judea. And there's nothing that you can say that He don't hear. And there's nothing that you can do that He don't see. And there's nothing that nowhere you can run that you can't be found in Him. So I'm going to read what happened to Jonah when he tried to run from God, right? I guess I'm not.